and welcome to Chez Zasaa, my place where I have conversations with different people. Today is Zasaa Zooms In, and I'm having a conversation with my friend Wonu, who you have met before.
You have.
So, today Wonu and I are going to talk about perceptions.
Or being judgmental.
Or being judgmental. So, perceptions. When I say that to you, what does that mean to you?
So, what's your first thought of somebody before you get to know them?
Okay.
So, what do you perceive this person to be about? Without knowing, you can just is that whole thing about judging a book by its cover.
Yeah.
So, what do I think about you before you even open your mouth and say hello to me?
So, the first day that you saw me, what did you think
about me? Oh my gosh. First time I met her, we were in an office. I think it was my first day. And I got in early, and there was this lady. She was the only one in the office. She was like 8.5 months pregnant, and I was just like, oh my god, oh bless her, she's pregnant and she's still working, da da da. And then I was just like, oh, how far gone are you? And then we along the way she goes, oh, this is my 4th child. And I went, you intentionally got pregnant 4 times? What is the matter with this woman? So my first impression of her was she was gorgeous, and she was pregnant, and she must be bonkers because she's having 4 children willingly.
Okay, so that one about being pregnant, having 4 children willingly, wasn't really perception, because that's after you spoke to me, isn't it?
No, but I thought you were bonkers. That was my impression of you, that you were bonkers before you then told me that you wanted 7 and you agreed to 4. So I had made my conclusion that you were bonkers at the 4. And when you said 7 to 4, it made sense after that. And I thought, oh, okay. They compromised.
Oh my life. Yeah. So what was my first impression of you? I just remember you walking, and you're right, because I was the only one in the office at that time, and I didn't expect anybody else to come in at any point in time. And then you strolled in, and I just thought, what a beauty. You had your hair in, you had a weave in. Oh, really? So you had like your weave, and then your lips are just...
I must get back to my weave.
No. I mean, you're still beautiful like this. Which I just remember, and I'll tell you, let me even tell you why I noticed it, and this is going to sound really bad, because it was a weave that worked. And in those days, I was so used to seeing, I think it was a weave, not a wig.
It was a weave.
Yeah, it was a weave. I was so used to seeing really bad, because it looked natural. I knew it wasn't natural, but it looked natural. So I remember thinking, this is somebody that knows how to, I was just so pleased to see, and this is going to sound really wrong, but I was just so pleased to see a black woman with a weave that looked natural, as opposed to, because what I had been seeing at that point in time, I mean, things have changed hugely since then. But at that point in time,
how far back are we going?
Well, she's 12 this year, so 11 years. 11.
No, but
13 years. Yeah, 13 years. Something like 13 years. Yeah. So you know what I mean? So I just remember thinking, oh wow. And I almost questioned whether it was real, because it was so real. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so that was the first thing. Oh, I know. You know that picture? There's a picture you have of you with it. That's how the hair was.
Okay.
That beautiful. It was really nice. Very nicely done and very natural. So that was the first thing. And then your lips and your smile. I was just like, oh my God, she's so pretty. But I was like, what's she doing here at 8 o'clock in the morning in my space?
I love work.
In my space. Yeah, in my space. This is my quiet time before anybody arrives. So yes, that was my first. I think so. Very superficial, but it was very much about your looks. I'm just
aren't we all on some level superficial?
I guess we are. But what I mean is that it wasn't. So I didn't go further than that. I was so taken by the lips and the face and the hair that I didn't really go any further. So that was my first impression.
You know how that is so, I don't know if it's funny or ironic, but I actually really don't like my lips. No, I take it back. I didn't.
You didn't, yeah.
Once I hit 40, everything was okay. But before that, it was one of those things I always try to cover up. So that because I think you're probably the person that made me start wearing lipstick. I never used to wear lipstick, because then that would draw attention to my lips. And
your lips are like so beautiful. And this is what people, please put down so they can see. Look at her lips, please. Look, show. because I mean, this is what people pay for now. I don't know if you're aware of that now. Okay, yeah, that people pay for. You have full lips, but I think what makes yours different to like the average, when you talk about full lips, is that they match, they're symmetrical. So it's not like what the bottom one is a lot bigger, because sometimes when you say full lips, it's one lip that's full, but yours match exactly, and your daughter has exactly.
She does.
I'm so happy she got
it.
It would have been such a waste if She didn't get them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She hates them as well.
But can you try and turn that around?
Don't worry, I'm working on that one.
Yeah,
I'm
because
really
they're
on that
really
one.
beautiful.
Because I always tell her, you look like me. There's no way you can be ugly.
That's not.
She always looks at me and she goes, how is that helping me, Mom?
I agree.
Every time I say that, she always goes, but that's not helping me. But I don't understand how that is not helping her.
Because for her as a child, she's not necessarily going to look at her mom as a beautiful person.
But I always caveat it with, I don't want to miss heaven. I don't want to miss heaven, so I'm not going to lie to you. I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah, but don't do it to you, because it's like me saying, if I said that to one of my children, first of all, they're irritated that their parent can even be beautiful. You know, like, why would your parent?
Really?
No, I told you what happened with my son's friends now. Did I not tell you what happened? There's one day I went straight from work, where we used to work together, to a parents' evening at my son's school.
Can you imagine?
And
The oldest?
The oldest.
Oh,
so I was in work gear, effectively.
Yeah.
So it was a pencil skirt, some top heels, and I had that, you know, when I had that wild hair in like a blondie, like that lion mane.
Actually, that's what it was. It was a lion mane. Yes.
Yeah. So I went to school, and obviously, because normally you would go with your sons to this thing, but because he had football training, he never came with me to this. So nobody knew.
They didn't know
who owned this mother.
Ooh.
And the next day at the lunch table, apparently, there had been. The next day, my son says to me, I come into the house and he says, "Mom, can you not dress up when you're going to my school, please?" So I'm like, "Sorry?" He said, "You don't need to dress up, just go home." I said, "I went from work, I didn't dress up." So I said, "What happened?" So apparently at lunchtime, some bloke had come in and was saying, "Do you know who owned the mom in the leopard?" He told me what I wore. Literally.
From people's description.
Because they were trying to identify whose mother this woman was.
So how did you not know it was his mom?
Because someone said, "Oh no, somebody knew." Someone said, so he was very upset. So you see, they don't like their parents to look attractive. That's not what they want. So that's not helping her at all.
Do you know, you're probably the first person that said that to me. Because every time she says it, I just think, you don't even know what you're talking
about. So when she's 20, yeah.
Then she
not now.
Not
now. No. Because for her, why no. You're not, first of all, you're not beautiful, and she doesn't want you to be beautiful.
No, what I know she doesn't like is she doesn't like people to say we look like sisters. And I get that, because it ages her slightly, so I get that. So I always tell her that, no, you're just a younger version of me. You're gorgeous. She's like,
No, I mean, she absolutely is, but I don't think she's old enough yet to fully appreciate that.
I'll come from another direction. Now that
appreciate
that's
that.
a great mom. She has all this great advice. Her and another friend of ours, Mrs. O, they cut any number of parents now listen to them. So
thank you.
I will try again. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yes.
But yes, so it was your lips and which, like I said, quite superficial, but I guess that's what you do when you judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
You look at the extension, and I don't know if I told you the story about when I went to a meeting and the gentleman that I was meeting had my name and my date of birth. Now my first name is an Arabic name, so he obviously comes out and in his head he knows who he's looking for. So he comes out into the foyer and there's like 8 of us there. He looks and he goes back in. And then he comes back 3 minutes later, he looks and he goes back in. And he does this 4 times. And then on the 5th occasion, he comes out and I'm the only one there. And this is like 10-15 minutes after the appointed time. And so he now says, he calls out my name. It's like, Zainab. Not looking at me, he just said it obviously because he needs to identify. He says Zainab, and I stood up. So anyway, when I was talking to him later, because he and I are now really good friends, he said he came out and he knew what he was looking for because he had seen that I was a middle-aged, as far as he was concerned, Arab or Muslim woman, and so he expected me to be hijabbed over, which is not true of all Muslim women.
True.
But in his head, that was his. This is a 42-year-old Arab woman. So I expect her. So he said he nothing prepared him. Nothing prepared him for me. And I remember that so clearly because I thought, actually, I don't do that in that case because obviously but there's situations where we do that. Maybe you see pastor or something and you think, oh, if they're a pastor, they're like this.
Well, I think you may be a bit more conscious of it because of your name.
Maybe. Yeah,
because as you said, your name is a Muslim name, so
it's not a Muslim name, it's an
Arabic name. It's an Arabic name. I stand corrected. I said corrected. I apologize. So maybe because you already know that your name and who you are, not that they're a contradiction, but it's not the norm, for lack of a better word. So maybe you're more conscious of all this kind of unconscious biases.
I think that's what it is. It's unconscious
I think
bias.
so, yeah, it's unconscious
Because
bias. Because why would he just determine that if you're 42 and you have an Arabic name, you can have a done?
No, but you see, the funny thing is that, to be fair on him, he had no clue until we had the conversation. He was like, I didn't know that's how I. So, like you said, it's an unconscious bias. He said, I didn't know how that, but I read that name and I knew exactly who I was looking for. He knew who he was looking for, and she wasn't there. So, he kept going back and coming.
This reminds me of when I have a computer science background, and I said to somebody recently, and because now I'm not doing computer science anymore, I do comms, and I was a software tester, and back in the day,
yeah, they were.
I was a software tester like 20 years ago, more.
Were you the only girl?
Of course, yeah, for miles, miles, and then I'd walk into a room, and then they'd be expecting me to take the notes or something because they're thinking this girl surely cannot be with all these guys, and in a way they were right, not that for me to take the notes, but because I didn't like IT, but I can't remember ever going to one place where I fit in. It was, they just assumed that, oh, she's a pretty girl, she's a pretty girl, and she's not doing computer science. So I was always like, the only female in the room for ages and ages. And I just thought, yeah, you guys are right. I just don't even want to do this anymore, so I just left.
Yeah, but you see, but that's likely because you didn't want to do it. But you're very right in the sense that there's a bias that comes with. Well, I don't even know if I can call it a bias. Like I was saying I was talking to one of my friends on Zasaa Zooms In, and I said to her, once I enter the room, before I speak, there's 4 things that have spoken for me.
They are judged. No, we're very judgy people.
You know what I mean? Because already, first of all, she's female. The color of my skin. Now, depending on whether I'm in a white or a black society, I'm either black or I'm light skinned. So my color of my skin plays both ways. Then a lot of people consider me to be beautiful. So then my beauty, So these things have already spoken before I open my mouth. And so I'm immediately on the back leg.
Yeah.
Right from the start.
Trying to feel like you're on the back leg.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Pretty much.
I've never felt that.
Because it's like they don't expect me to have anything of value to give. They don't expect me to.
Guys, don't be judgy. That's horrible.
No, but
I'm judgy,
but you understand what I mean? It's because they kind of see, and depending on how I'm dressed as well, it could now be like another.
No, but Zaz, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, because so if you and I wear the same thing,
they will judge me.
They will always judge you because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
That one, I don't even know what you can do about it, to be honest. Even if you wore a roll neck, I think
I always say this thing: yellow flesh is sinful, black flesh is not sinful. It's yellow flesh, and I didn't even know I was yellow until recently. I thought I was caramel.
Girl, you yellow.
I'm yellow.
I only say that to her. I don't mean anything.
But you're absolutely right, and this is part of the thing. Perception. So people see me and yellow, or
you actually always feel like you're on the back foot.
Well, you see, the funny thing is, initially I didn't feel it. I just didn't get it, and then I realized that actually this is what the issue is. Wow. So I tend to, that people, that there's always this joke with a friend of mine where she says, "Now people don't know how spiritual you are," and part of that is because I will not. I then decided, well, you guys will find out when you find out. I'm not going to try and prove to you who I am. So if you decide to look and say, oh, because she's a woman and because she is wearing this dress and because she's whatever beautiful, she can't possibly be intelligent or whatever.
Spiritual,
or spiritual, whatever.
She speaks a couple of languages as well.
Can you stop it?
She's gorgeous. Always rocking her own gorgeous. I am incredibly.
But do you understand what I mean?
Wow. I've never thought that people's perception of me put me on a maybe I'm lying. Maybe I'm not telling the truth. I used to feel. Okay, I'm lying.
No, I think
it can make you feel inadequate.
Yes, no, absolutely. And so it got to the point where sometimes I would double. What do they call it? Second guess myself.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I know this thing. And the thing is, also, sometimes what would happen is I would say it and they wouldn't hear it from me. Oh, yes. And then somebody else will say it. And I think that is it's not unique to me. I think that's quite common with a lot of women as well. That because they just don't expect.
Before anyway.
Yeah, before.
Things are better
Hopefully
now.
Things are changing as well. But because they don't expect it from you, even when you say it, they don't hear it properly. You know what I mean? They don't hear it the way you said it. And then somebody will now say it and you're like,
and you're like, I just said the same
But I just said that. Yeah, you know what I mean? Is it English? That's your problem? So it's things like that. But I think perceptions, definitely. So you come into a room and
well, can you see it on people's faces?
No, you can't, because at that point it's not on their faces.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that and there's some people that you can actually see that
the what that
They're
they think.
thinking, what does this one?
Apart from the ones that are looking at me maybe in a lustful manner, do you know what I mean? In a way that you know.
No,
generally-
that's the other end of the coin, and that's also problematic, isn't it?
No, it is. It is. What I mean is, but those one you know that they're not expecting anything from you. But most of them, you don't see you. They just think that this is, you know, and the other way that they think of you as the token, the token woman or the token black person or the token whatever token
So
you are.
sometimes positive
you are.
discrimination. But
You know,
anyway,
so
we'll
they kind of accept you in, but they don't necessarily, you know, fully accept. But no, I do feel like all my life, and it's funny because my mom actually prepared us for this because my sister.
I think you should bring your mom on that.
No, my mom is coming on. Yeah, she absolutely
Single-handedly
is.
an inspirational woman. You guys don't, I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to let you tune in to when she brings someone.
She will come on.
And in fact, I actually want to sit in the room with her because I do not know how she did the thing that she did. Raising, oh no, I'll let you guys. I'll let you
as
guys.
you know, but
Amazing.
you probably don't know, my mom is white British and my father black Nigerian. And from the get-go, my mom, I don't know how old I was, but for as long as I can remember, my mom always said, nobody's going to look at you and know you have white blood in you. So you are going to have to, she said, you have two things working against you. You're black and you're female. So you're going to have to work twice as hard to get half as far.
From the beginning?
I don't know when she said it, but I remember it for as long back as, I don't know. For as long back
Because
as
she
I
didn't
can
have that growing up.
She didn't have that,
So
but
how
I guess
did she know that?
maybe she did her research, maybe she knew what she was getting into, maybe I don't know. But I've always known that.
The fact that she raised two black girls is not why she's incredible. She's incredible for that, but you'll find out why she's she's absolutely incredible.
But you
But
know,
no, she's incredible.
but you know, like she. So I always knew that I had this. So to a certain
So
extent,
you always knew about
knew,
the bias.
Yeah, I knew that there was that kind of thing where you have to do so
much.
much. But you see, maybe she didn't. With
It
us,
wasn't
it
a
was
problem.
obvious.
Right,
Yes, that
right.
okay, you know what? Nobody's going to look at you and think you have white blood in you. And you know, like my children till today, I always complain. They're like, nobody knows I have a white grandmother.
Listen,
Guys. Because they're darker than
it's
her
a
kids.
running joke. Yes, my kids look more mixed race than her kids. Like they actually have a full-blown white grandmother. No, Mr. AK, jeez. Love you, Mr. AK. Yeah.
But you see, and so
do you tell your kids that, or you don't need to?
Do you know? Funny. I mean, I kind of mentioned it on and off to my
because it's not like
but it's
that
not
big a
that it's
deal.
not hugely thing because I mean they are considered as in even though they have a white grandmother, nobody they're considered black. Whereas I guess for us and especially because we grew up in Nigeria, you know. So I don't know, but it's so I think that bias is definitely there all the time. So I knew going into pretty much every situation, you have to come with your A game.
Really?
Yeah, because they're not even going to give you the time of day if you don't come with your A game. Right? Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, but you went with your A game anyway because your dad gave you that thing where you have to come with your A game.
You have to come with your A game.
Yeah.
My dad was many things, but the one that God help you if you don't know your bank details off the top of your head. Till this day, my siblings and I, we know even if we don't know all three banks or whatever accounts, you at least know one. You can't get to the front of the door and be looking for your keys.
Yeah,
you have to have your keys with you. You can't imagine.
But you see, he probably. Do you think he did that? Okay, no, but he did to your brother as well. I was going to say, did he do it to you because you were girls?
Oh,
no,
he did it to my mom.
So yeah, so he obviously had his reasons. Maybe we should get him on and find out what
actually,
his
it's
reasons
interesting,
were.
yeah. But he just my dad's a lawyer though, so maybe
Okay,
it's
so
all about
maybe,
knowing your rights. So that was the what it came from. Is like someone cannot come and tell you on a plane you need to get up from my seat because you should already know that you're in the right seat. You should know your seat number, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was all about knowing your rights. So I think that's where he came from, and that's what he tried to instill in us. Yeah, in his own way. But it worked because I always those things I was always ready, and I remember my husband struggled because I told you before when we were dating, we'd get to the front door and he'd be looking for the keys, and I'd be like, "How? We just walked for 10 minutes.
You could have got them out."
He's just looking for the keys. And it wasn't until the day he said, "But I'm not your dad." Ooh, yeah. And I thought, have I been treating you like my dad? That actually shocks me.
Yeah.
But because he's really quiet normally, and I think I must have gone on about it for like ever. And then he said, "But I'm not your dad." And I was like, "Oh, sorry about that."
Fair point.
No,
fair point.
I don't think I ever mentioned it after that day. I just got my kids ready, but you don't have to get yours.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I always, I think, came with my A game, but even if I didn't, it wasn't something I ever thought about. Like, people's perception. Oh, maybe I did. And I'm thinking about it now, and maybe I did actually. Maybe I did allow people's perception. Let me call it people's perception to affect how I came into a room or what I then did in the room.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know that I allowed it to affect how I came into a room, but I knew that when I came into a room, chances were that this was the thing. But you see, you have to find the balance between letting that now hold you back and being like, okay, this is a fact and it's a fact and we're getting on with it. And I think that's where the challenge always was, because you know that it's there and you know, but if somebody has a bias, I always feel like if you have a bias, it's up to me to prove you wrong. Not actively, but what I mean is like I will no. But what I'm saying is that I will now use my intelligence to shut you up right there, because you're not expecting me to be intelligent. Do you understand what I mean? That's what I mean. Not that I will, but you know. But like I said, a lot of the time I decided, you know, people are too kinny for me. I'll just keep quiet, and when you're ready, you will notice that actually I am all that. And
yeah, but then isn't that allowing them to hone in and reside in this bias?
Yeah, so it depends on who the people are, whether I feel like I need to release them from this thing. You know what I mean? Because in the greater way, it's like, how many people am I going to do that?
That's true.
You know,
this sounds like how I used to want to people please all the time. Oh, guys, it's so exhausting. People pleasing. Because what you said just now is like, okay, so some people you want to let them know, not from a I want to be your friend point of view, but that just actually reminded me of, Wonu, you used to want to do that because you wanted the person to like you. There are elements of validation in it, but I don't think it's fully about validation. I just don't want to offend.
Yeah.
But I don't think those people validate me. I just don't want to offend them, because then I have to go back and say, because I don't want to have to go back and say sorry.
But why do you have to go back and say sorry?
Because if I offend somebody, I always feel bad, and I feel like I have to go back. Yeah, I feel like I have to go back and say sorry.
It's validation, isn't it?
I mean, I didn't think it was always about validating. And as I said, I don't like to offend people, because I feel like when I offend, I have to go back and say sorry, because I think it's rude. And sorry is so personal to me that I find it so difficult. I find it so difficult. So I try everything not to even offend you in the first place, which can be detrimental, because I may be doing something, because then it ends up being this people pleasing thing, and it may not necessarily.
I think you have a valid point, because I haven't really thought about that. I mean, because if you don't want to offend, because I always think of people pleasing is you want the person to be pleased with you, but why do you want them to be pleased with you? And that's why
that's another one.
Validation thing.
That's another one. Why do I want them to be pleased? So the people that have tried to please, it's validation. Because you value what they're saying about you.
Yes, exactly. So the one of offending, I mean, I kind of get it.
Because I'm doing everything to make them happy. Because then if I do that, then the chances of offending them are slim.
Yeah.
So.
But I think maybe that's because of the culture we come from.
Really? I feel like I'm a minority.
Left, right, and center. Oh. I mean, because quite frankly, I'm like. I mean,
maybe because I was very blasé when I was younger. I think I just used to offend left, right, and center without knowing.
So maybe you're more, because I've never thought. I mean, it makes sense as you say, but I've never really thought. I always think of people pleasing as because we want them to like us, and we want them to like us because that makes us feel somehow. So it's like a validation thing. Like
there are elements of that. Yeah, there are elements, because I'm trying to think of when that has also been the overriding feeling. And actually, I think I felt that before. I just feel like I want this person to like me.
For whatever
but
reason.
Now
you don't care. After you turn 40, life changed.
It's not that I don't care, but I'm free. I'm freer. I'm freer now. I'm not so weighed down by it. Like if you don't like me, it's okay. Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of where we need to get to. But you know what? I always say this thing. I always say I don't feel like we get to that place until we are okay with who we are. And a lot of the time, many of us we're not okay with who we are until much later in life. So we spend a lot of time.
But can you be okay in some parts and not be okay in some parts?
I think you
but then even if you're okay 90%, let me say, of the time, can that 10% still cause you to want to people please?
I think so. Because I think it's that thing of.
So you think people you know, sometimes.
No, there's some people that pretend though. Yeah, there's some people that pretend, absolutely. I believe so. So I think, I guess we're gonna have to do one on people pleasing.
We are, because we need to deep dive.
Because I think you're right. All of these elements probably are in there. I've never thought about it. I always just think it's for validation and because you want some. And maybe if you're in a job, you wanted to get somewhere and you feel like
it just never works.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I don't feel like people.
And I think as Christians, I'm a Christian. I'm always going to talk from that point of view. Just please God. that's the best
That's
you
it,
can
that's
do,
it, yeah,
honestly,
that's it.
because
Yeah, 100%.
things change from time to time. You might come in something that the person doesn't like today. You might say something the person doesn't like. It can be a whole host of things. But if you just please God, and I know that can be difficult because you know, God is not sitting beside you to say, "Oh, you did well." But my advice would be to just please a higher being.
I agree with you 100%. And on that note, we are going to end. As you can see, we started off with perceptions. I don't know where we ended up, but it doesn't matter. We had a good conversation.
We did.
And we hope that you enjoyed it, and there's something there that you can go and think about. So, thank you very much, Wonu. I will have you back again.
Thank you so much. I was going to invite myself back, but you guys invited me now, so that's okay too.
Okay. Some people just don't get the message.
I just love her, and I'm not even trying to please her.
Okay, until next time, rock your own gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Does that sound corny? I don't know if it sounds corny. I don't care. Rock your own gorgeous.
That's it.